All right, so I want to start today by asking you to do something. Just picture it for a second. I want you to mentally open that one drawer in your kitchen. We all have it. You know the one.
Oh, yeah, the junk drawer.
The junk drawer, exactly. The place where, AA batteries go to die and you've got rubber bands, takeout menus from restaurants that closed 3 years ago.
All the unidentifiable keys.
Exactly, the keys to who knows what. I want you to dig through that mental drawer for a second, push aside the dried out pens, and tell me what you see at the very, very bottom.
It's big, it's glossy,
Mm.
and it is definitely blue.
It is the oversized blue 20% off coupon. I mean, it might be the single most recognizable piece of direct mail in American history.
Well, without a doubt. I don't think anything else even comes close.
For decades, that coupon wasn't just, a discount. It was practically a secondary currency.
It really was.
It was a cultural artifact. You didn't just go shopping for home goods. You waited. You waited until you had the big blue in your hand. It was a whole ritual.
It was a phenomenon. In the marketing world, we study that coupon. It's a case study. It's one of the most effective tools ever created to drive foot traffic into a store. It was brilliant.
Right.
Until, of course, it became the thing that helped kill the company.
And that is exactly where we are going today. We are doing a deep dive into the retail giant that just flooded our mailboxes for, 30 years? The company that seemed absolutely invincible, the category killer that defined how an entire generation set up their dorm rooms and their first apartments. We are talking about Bed Bath & Beyond.
But this isn't just a nostalgia trip, because today is Saturday, February 14th, 2026. And the story of Bed Bath & Beyond has become, it's become incredibly complicated.
It really has.
It's a ghost story, it's a financial thriller, and a zombie movie all rolled into one.
That's a perfect way to put it. I mean, just think about the reality we're living in right this second. If you drive to your local strip mall in the U.S. today, the Bed Bath & Beyond store, it's gone.
It's been gone for years now.
It's been gone since 2023. Maybe it's a gym now. Maybe it's a Spirit Halloween that pops up once a year.
Or just a big, empty concrete shell.
Right. But if you go online, it's there. If you go to Mexico, it's there. And this is the part that just blows my mind. If you're listening to us from Canada or the UK, you might actually be seeing physical stores opening up again this year.
It is the brand that refuses to die. The corporate body, the actual company, it completely disintegrated, but the spirit, or at least the logo, it just keeps finding new hosts to possess.
So here is our mission for this deep dive. We are going to unpack the entire life cycle of this absolute beast of a company. We're going to go all the way back to 1971. We want to understand how two guys from a discount chain basically reinvented retail.
And we'll look at the golden era. I mean, the period where they just completely crushed the competition.
But then we have to look at the collapse. And I don't mean just, sales went down. We need to get into the weeds of the financial engineering. We have to talk about stock buybacks.
We really do. We need to explain something called death spiral financing. Yeah. It's as bad as it sounds. We need to understand how a Fortune 500 company can spend billions and billions of dollars on itself and just end up with nothing.
And then finally, we're going to map out this completely fractured afterlife. You know how Overstock.com is now wearing the skin of Bed Bath & Beyond, the tragedy of Bye Bye Baby, and this brand new 2026 revival plan that's happening as we speak. So grab your shower caddy, grab your dorm room bedding, and let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Okay, so to really understand how massive this thing got, we have to understand the world before it existed. We're going back to 1971.
A different world.
Completely. Nixon is in the White House. Disney World just opened its doors in Florida. And the way people shop for their homes was just totally different.
Oh, completely. I mean, think about it. In 1971, if you needed, say, towels, sheets, or maybe a toaster, where did you go?
A department store.
You went to a department store. A Sears, a Macy's, maybe a JCPenney. Or you went to some generic discount store.
And what was that experience like? I mean, I'm imagining it was pretty limited.
Limited is the key word. The entire department store model was based on curation. Some buyer at a corporate headquarters in New York or Chicago decided what was in style. So you'd walk into the towel section and you'd have, maybe 3 colors to choose from.
Wait, beige?
And maybe a dusty blue or that avocado green that was everywhere.
Right, because the store manager's thinking, okay, I've got to sell tires and clothes and jewelry and lawnmowers. I can only give towels one single aisle.
Exactly. It was a general store mentality. And into this world walk Warren Eisenberg and Leonard Feinstein.
The architects.
The architects. These two were retail veterans. They were working as managers at a discount chain called Arlen's. And they were smart guys.
Hmm.
They saw the writing on the wall for Arlen's.
They could see it was failing.
They could. They realized that this jack-of-all-trades store was going to get squeezed out of the market.
They had this incredible insight that the future wasn't in general stores, but in specialty stores.
Right. They basically thought, what if we stopped trying to sell a little bit of everything, and instead we sold one thing, but we sold more of it than anyone else on earth?
Focus.
Extreme focus. So they leave Arlen's. They go to Springfield, New Jersey, which, not exactly the retail capital of the world.
Apparently it was.
Apparently so. And they open a store called, wait for it, Bed and Bath.
Bed and Bath. Very simple, very direct, no beyond yet.
Not yet, just the basics. And for the first, decade or so, they're doing pretty well. By 1985, they've got about 18 stores, mostly in the New York metro area and California. But this is where the pivotal moment happens. Because they weren't the only ones who had this specialty idea.
No, you had this whole wave coming.
A huge wave. This was the era of what some people call the linen wars. You had linens pillies, you had Pacific linen, luxury linens. Suddenly, everybody wanted to be the specialty home goods store.
So Eisenberg and Feinstein have to escalate. They have to go nuclear. And in 1985, they open their first superstore. And this is really the birth of the Bed Bath & Beyond we all knew.
This is the category killer model. And we hear that term a lot, in business school, but let's really define what that means.
Yeah, break it down.
A category killer is a retailer that offers such an overwhelming, just an absolutely staggering selection of a specific category of merchandise.
So many toasters, you can't even count them.
Exactly. So many toasters that it becomes impossible for a general store to even try to compete. It's retail shock and awe.
It's shock and awe. That's a great way to put it.
It is. I mean, think about the psychology of walking into one of those early superstores.
Yeah.
They didn't design it like some fancy, boutique. They designed it like a warehouse.
They called it the jungle.
That's what they called it internally, the jungle. And they stacked merchandise from the floor literally to the ceiling. If you were 5'2", you couldn't see over the toaster aisle. You were walled in by commerce.
Which sounds kind of claustrophobic, but it was actually brilliant, wasn't it?
It was incredibly effective because it triggered a treasure hunt mentality in the shopper. This is so crucial to their success.
What do you mean by that?
Well, in a normal store, you go in, you find the item you need, and you leave. It's a chore. It's an errand. In Bed Bath & Beyond, the layout was intentionally confusing.
Wait, on purpose?
Oh, absolutely on purpose. They wanted you to get lost. They created a layout where you would go in looking for a pillow, but to get to the pillows, you had to navigate past a mountain of obscure kitchen gadgets you never knew you needed.
Right.
And a tower of scented candles, and a whole wall of those, as seen on TV products.
And you're walking by thinking, do I need a vibrating neck massager? I didn't think I did 5 minutes ago, but now that I see this wall of them.
Exactly. It was engineered to create impulse buys. You'd literally trip over things you didn't know existed.
Wow.
Oh, a strawberry huller. I guess I need that. A shower radio.
Right.
Into the cart it goes. It turned shopping from a chore into entertainment.
And to reflect this massive expansion, this idea that there's so much more than just sheets and towels, they changed the name. In 1987, Bed and Bath becomes Bed Bath & Beyond.
And that word beyond did a lot of heavy lifting. It basically gave them permission to sell literally anything.
Anything.
Food, electronics, health and beauty products, furniture. I mean, if it could plausibly fit inside a house, it was now beyond.
And oh my God, did it work? I mean, looking at the numbers from the 90s, it's just a rocket ship. They go public on the NASDAQ in June of 1992.
And they were tech savvy, too, which is something people forget. In 1993, they adopted a computerized integrated inventory management system.
Which sounds incredibly boring. Integrated inventory management. But why does that actually matter?
It matters so much. Because in 1993, a lot of retail was still basically pen and paper. Bed Bath & Beyond, with this system, knew exactly what color towel was selling and what zip code on what day of the week.
Wow.
They could tailor the inventory of every single store to the specific neighborhood it was in. Their big rival, Linens and Things, just couldn't do that as effectively.
So they were decentralized. The store managers had some power.
Highly decentralized. Store managers had a ton of autonomy. If a manager in, say, Miami saw that neon green sheets were flying off the shelves for some reason,
Right.
they could order more immediately without having to ask corporate for permission. It made them incredibly agile.
And the growth just continues. By 1999, they hit $1 billion in sales.
$1 billion.
They opened their 200th store that same year. And if you fast forward to 2011, they had 1,142 stores. They were a Fortune 500 company. They were in the Forbes Global 2000.
They had won?
They had effectively won the war. Linens and Things, bankrupt in 2008. Pacific Linen, gone. Bed Bath & Beyond was the undisputed king of the mountain.
But you know what they say about being on top of the mountain?
It's a long way down.
It's a long way down, and it's very, very easy to become complacent. And while the 90s and 2000s were all about this explosive growth, the seeds of the company's destruction were actually being planted during this victory lap.
Which brings us to Act Two, the acquisition spree. Because once they conquered the bedroom and the bathroom, they decided they needed to own, well, everything else in the house, too.
And this is a classic corporate strategy problem, right?
Yeah.
When you become ubiquitous, when there's literally a Bed Bath & Beyond in every strip mall that can possibly support one, you hit a growth wall.
You can't just keep opening more stores.
You can't. You start cannibalizing your own sales. So the big question for the executives becomes, how do you keep the stock price going up? How do you show Wall Street you're still growing?
You buy other people.
You buy growth, exactly.
So let's just run through the shopping list because it's eclectic.
It is.
2002, they buy Harmon Discount Health and Beauty.
Which became Harmon Face Values.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these were small footprint stores, cheap shampoo, toothpaste. It was actually a pretty decent business, very high volume.
Then in 2003, they buy Christmas tree shops. Now I have to pause here. If you are from New England, you know Christmas tree shops. It's an institution. If you aren't, the name is completely baffling because they sold way more than just Christmas trees.
Oh, yeah. It was a cult favorite in the Northeast, and it fit their treasure hunt vibe perfectly. You'd go in for wrapping paper and come out with, like, a lawn gnome and a giant bag of pretzels.
Right. Then in 2012, they make a much bigger move. They drop nearly $500 million, $495 million to buy Cost Plus World Market.
That was a bigger swing. World Market was all about unique imported goods. You know, furniture, wine, weird snacks from Germany. It was a clear attempt to get into that kind of bohemian chic market.
And then came the digital buys, trying to catch up online. One Kings Lane in 2016 for luxury furniture, Decorist in 2017 for online interior design. They were just gobbling up brands left and right.
But we need to zoom in on one specific acquisition, or really a pair of acquisitions, because later on, when the activists came for the company, they pointed to these two deals and said, this is proof that the company is rotting from the head down.
You're talking about the nepotism controversy.
I am. Let's start with Buy Buy Baby. It was acquired in 2007. And look, Buy Buy Baby was a successful chain. It eventually became the most valuable part of the whole company, the jewel in the crown.
No question.
But who founded it?
It was founded by Richard and Jeffrey Feinstein.
And who are they?
They are the sons of the Bed Bath & Beyond co-founder, Leonard Feinstein.
Right. So the company, a public company, uses shareholder money to buy the co-founder's son's company. The price was roughly $67 million, plus they paid off its debt.
Okay, that looks cozy.
It gets cozier.
Oh.
There was another smaller acquisition, a company called Chef Central. What do you think created that one?
Let me guess. It was the son of the other co-founder, Warren Eisenberg.
You see the pattern. Now, to be fair, we have to say Buy Buy Baby was a legitimate, successful business. It filled a huge void when Babies R Us went under. It was profitable.
Okay.
But from a corporate governance perspective, when you are a public company using shareholder money to acquire businesses owned by the founder's own children, it just raises massive red flags.
It makes it look like a family fiefdom, not a public corporation.
Exactly. It sends a signal to Wall Street that this isn't the meritocracy. It's a family business that's just pretending to be a modern corporation.
Yeah.
And that kind of vibe is fine when the stock is going up and up.
Nobody's asked questions when they're making money.
Nobody cares. But around 2015, 2016, the music starts to slow down.
And the whole retail landscape had just shifted dramatically under their feet. Amazon was becoming the everything store. Wayfair was eating the furniture market online, and suddenly that treasure hunt at Bed Bath & Beyond started to feel less like an adventure.
And more like a hassle.
It really did. The stores were cluttered, the aisles were too tight to get a cart through, and frankly, why would I dig through a giant bin for a spatula when I can press one button on my phone and have the highest rated spatula in the world delivered to my door tomorrow?
The category killer was getting killed by the ultimate category killer, the internet.
Which moves us right into Act 3, the slow bleed. We're in 2019 now. The stock has been sliding for years. The stores feel dated, and the sharks start circling in the water.
The sharks in this particular story were a trio of activist investment firms, Legion Partners, Macellum Advisors and Ancora Advisors.
Activist investors.
Oh.
Just to clarify, these are the guys who buy a big chunk of a company's stock, not because they love the company, but because they want to force changes to make the stock pop, right?
Precisely. They want to get in, shake things up, make a quick profit, and get out. And in March 2019, they launched a full-on revolt.
I remember this. They released a presentation. It was like a slide deck from hell that just tore the management apart.
Oh, it was brutal. They called out the nepotism with the kids' companies. They called out the declining profit margins. They pointed out that the CEO, Stephen Tamaris, had been there for 16 years and seemed to have absolutely no plan for the digital age.
And they won.
They did. It was a massive shakeup,
What?
a boardroom coup. Tamaris stepped down. The board was completely restructured. And in November 2019, they brought in the person they thought would be the savior.
Mark Tritton.
Mark Tritton. He was the golden boy. He came from Target, where he was the chief merchandising officer, and everyone on Wall Street thought, okay, this is it. He helped make Target cool and successful. He's going to fix Bed Bath & Beyond.
And his plan was very Target-esque. On paper, it made a lot of sense. He wanted to declutter the stores, wider aisles, cleaner sight lines, less stuff piled to the ceiling.
Made sense.
And he wanted to lean heavily into private labels' own brands that the company creates itself, rather than just selling national brands.
So instead of selling a Cuisinart blender, they'd sell a Bed Bath & Beyond brand blender. Right. Because the profit margins are much, much higher on your own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But here's where he completely miscalculated. Bed Bath & Beyond customers were not Target customers.
Oh, totally different shopper.
Totally different. They came for the brands. They came for the all-clad pans and the Dyson vacuums. When you take away those trusted brands and you replace them with a generic Studio 3B brand that nobody has ever heard of, people get annoyed.
And then came the cardinal sin, the thing you mentioned at the very beginning, killing the coupon.
It was the strategy shift heard around the world. Trayton and his new team wanted to reduce the company's reliance on those blue coupons. His thinking was, we have trained our customer to never, ever pay full price. We have to break that addiction.
Which, logically makes some sense. If you give everyone 20% off on every purchase, you're just lighting 20% of your revenue on fire.
Economically, yes.
Yeah.
Psychologically, it was corporate suicide. That coupon was the only reason a lot of people still walked in the door.
Yeah.
It was the dopamine hit. It was the whole point of the trip.
Yeah.
When you take that away, and at the same time you replace the brand names they love with generic knockoffs, you are basically telling your most loyal customers, we don't want you anymore.
And they listened. They stopped coming.
Sales just plummeted. But the real killer, the thing that turned a struggling company into a complete catastrophe, it wasn't the coupons, it was the financial engineering that was happening in the background. We have to talk about the stock buybacks.
Okay, we absolutely have to stop the car here. We need to really, really unpack this. Because in the research for this deep dive, I saw a number that made my jaw hit the floor. $11.8 billion.
That is the estimated amount that Bed Bath & Beyond spent buying back its own stock, starting in 2004 and going right to the end.
$11.8 billion. Now, for the listener who isn't a day trader, can you just explain this simply? What is a stock buyback, and why would a company spend its own cash to buy itself?
Okay, let's strip it all the way down. Imagine you and I, we open a pizza shop. To raise money to buy the big pizza oven, we sell 100 shares of stock to our friends and family. So there are 100 shares of our pizza company in existence.
Okay. I own one share, you own one, our friends own the rest. Got it.
Right. At the end of our first year, our pizza shop makes $100 in profit. Simple math. $100 of profit divided by 100 shares equals $1 of profit per share. That's your EPS, your earnings per share. Wall Street is obsessed with EPS. It's the scorecard.
Got it. My share earned $1. I'm happy.
You're happy. But now, imagine next year, we want our stock price to go up. But we didn't sell any more pizza. We're a mature business. We still only made $100. The business is totally flat. How do we make the shares look more valuable without actually working harder or selling more pizza?
We fudge the numbers.
No, that's jail. That's fraud. Instead, we do something perfectly legal. We take the cash that's sitting in our cash register, our savings, and we go to our friends and we buy back 50 of their shares. And we retire them. We basically shred them.
So now there are only 50 shares of our pizza shop left in the entire world.
Exactly. But we still made our $100 in profit. So do the math now.
$100 of profit divided by 50 shares is $2 per share.
Bingo. The business didn't get any better. We didn't sell a single extra slice of pepperoni. But suddenly, our earnings per share magically doubled from $1 to $2. Wall Street's algorithms see that growth and they bid up our stock price.
It's a magic trick.
It is financial engineering. And corporate executives love it because their multi-million-dollar bonuses are often tied directly to hitting the share price targets. But here's the massive catch. To buy those shares back, we had to empty our cash register.
Right. We used up all the cash we might have needed to, say, fix the oven when it breaks, or maybe build a delivery app.
Or survive a global pandemic.
And that's what Bed Bath & Beyond did.
On an absolutely massive scale. They spent nearly $12 billion on this. Just imagine for a second if they had taken half of that, $6 billion, and invested it in building a world-class e-commerce and logistics network back in 2010.
They could have been a real competitor to Amazon.
It could have been. Instead, they basically set that cash on fire to prop up the stock price for a few more years.
And then the rainy day came.
And the cash register was completely empty. This led directly to the supply chain collapse that we saw in 2022. I don't know if you went into one of their stores then, but it was eerie.
I did. I remember walking in, and my first thought was, are they closing? The shelves were just barren. They were taking, like, one towel and spreading it out to fill 3 feet of empty shelf space.
That's because they couldn't pay their vendors.
Yeah.
It's that simple. If you don't pay KitchenAid, KitchenAid stops sending you stand mixers. No cash means no inventory. No inventory means no sales. No sales means no cash. It's a death spiral.
Which brings us to Act 4, the collapse. The years 2022 and 2023. This is where the story goes from struggling retailer to just absolute utter chaos.
And we enter the meme stock era. Bed Bath & Beyond became one of those stocks, just like GameStop or AMC, that online traders on Reddit forums became obsessed with. They wanted to stick it to the big hedge funds who were betting against the company.
And the central character in this part of the story is Ryan Cohen,
The founder of Chewy.com, a billionaire activist investor and a hero to the meme stock crowd.
In March of 2022, Cohen buys a huge stake in the company, almost 10%. He sends a blistering letter to the board, and he basically says, your strategy is a total failure. You need to sell off Buy Baby immediately because it's the only thing of value you have left.
And because he's Ryan Cohen, the retail investors on Reddit go wild. The stock just shoots to the moon. He gets 3 seats on the board. And for a brief moment, it looked like maybe, just maybe, he was going to turn it around.
But then July 2022, Mark Trutton, the CEO, is fired. Sue Gove takes over. And then August happens.
August of 2022. The stock pumps massively, again, on pure speculation. And right at the very peak, Ryan Cohen sells everything. He dumps his entire stake in the company.
He walked away with a profit of something like $60 million, right? In just a few months.
Roughly, yes. And the stock crashed immediately. The retail investors, the regular people who had followed him into the trade, who believed in him, they were left holding the bag. It was a classic rug pull.
And amidst all this financial chaos, there was a terrible human tragedy. In September 2022, the company's CFO, Gustavo Arnal, died by suicide.
It was a shocking, just a heartbreaking event. He had recently been named in a class action lawsuit that alleged a pump and dump scheme regarding the stock alongside Ryan Cohen. And, you know, we have to be careful not to speculate on his personal state of mind, but it highlighted the immense crushing pressure that was happening behind the scenes. The walls were just closing in from every single side.
It really cast a very dark shadow over the company's final months. And operationally, the company was in a complete freefall. In January 2023, they issued a going concern warning. And that's basically corporate speak for, we don't think we're going to make it.
The stock plunged 30% on that news alone. Analysts were predicting bankruptcy within days. But then we saw one of the most bizarre financial maneuvers in recent retail history. The death spiral financing.
It sounds like a wrestling move. He's got him in the death spiral. Or like a heavy metal band.
It is definitely not something you want to be involved with financially.
So explain this to me. They needed cash desperately. They made a deal with a hedge fund called Hudson Bay Capital. How did this work? Because it sounds incredibly complex.
It is complex, but let's try to simplify it. Bed Bath & Beyond needed money right now just to pay vendors and keep the lights on. Hudson Bay said, we'll give you up to $1 billion.
Okay, that sounds good. A lifeline.
But, Hudson Bay said, in exchange, you don't give us cash back. You give us something called convertible preferred stock. And the key feature of this stock is that we can convert it into regular shares of your company at a discount to whatever the current trading price is.
Wait, whatever the current price is, that sounds really dangerous.
It's lethal.
Yeah.
So let's say the stock is trading at $5 a share. Hudson Bay converts some of their debt into stock, but they get it at a discount, say for $4. They immediately sell that stock on the open market for $5.
And they make an instant risk-free profit of $1 per share.
Exactly. Nice deal for them. But what happens to the stock price when they dump all those newly created shares on the market to get their profit?
Supply and demand. When you flood the market with sell orders, the price drops. So the stock goes from $5 down to $3.
Right. But Hudson Bay still has more debt to convert. And remember, the deal says they get a discount on whatever the current price is. So now they convert their next batch at, say, $2.50, and they sell it at $3.
Which drives the price down even further to maybe $2.
Then they convert at $1.50, sell it $2, drive it down to $1.
It's a loop. It just feeds on itself.
It is the spiral. The more they convert and sell, the lower the price goes.
Mm-hmm.
And the lower the price goes, the more shares Bed Bath & Beyond has to print to pay back the same amount of money.
It just dilutes all the existing shareholders down to basically zero.
Completely. It was a Hail Mary that delayed the inevitable by a few months, but it absolutely destroyed the equity. The deal actually fell apart in March because the stock price got so low that the math just stopped working.
And that was it. Game over. April 23rd, 2023. Bed Bath & Beyond officially files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy.
And it's important to note this wasn't a reorganization bankruptcy where they planned to fix the debt and stay open. This was a liquidation. They were parting out the car for scraps.
April 26th, 2023, the day the coupons died, they announced they would no longer accept them.
I remember reading reports of people just rushing to the stores with these huge stacks of blue coupons, desperate to buy anything they could before they became worthless.
It was truly the end of an era, and other retailers, I remember the Container Store, Big Lots, Boscov's, they briefly said, hey, bring us your useless Bed Bath coupons, we'll honor them.
Which is a brilliant marketing move. Just genius. Come to us, we'll take care of you.
And then came the long goodbye, the liquidation sales, the giant everything must go signs, and the last brick-and-mortar Bed Bath & Beyond store in the United States closed its doors for good on July 30th, 2023.
And that really should have been the end of the story. 1971 to 2023. R.I.P. A retail giant is dead.
But it wasn't. And this is where we get to Act 5, the strange, strange afterlife. Because here we are, recording this in 2026, and the name Bed Bath & Beyond is still everywhere. It's like a ghost that found a new body to possess.
It's the zombie brand phenomenon. In June of 2023, during the bankruptcy auction, the online retailer Overstock.com swooped in.
Overstock, another one of the dot-com era survivors.
Right. And they bought the intellectual property, so the name, the customer data, the website domains, for $21.5 million.
Which is a steal, honestly. $21.5 million for a brand name that almost every single American knows. That's pennies.
It was an absolute bargain. And Overstock did something really radical. They didn't just run Bed Bath & Beyond as like a little side project. They realized their own name, Overstock, was kind of a problem.
It sounds cheap.
It sounds like a clearance bin. It sounds like leftovers. So they made a bold move.
They ditched it.
They rebranded their entire company. Overstock.com became Bed Bath & Beyond Online. They just took the name and slapped it right onto their website.
So if you go to bedbathandbeyond.com right now in the United States, you are technically shopping at what used to be Overstock.
Precisely. And the original corporate entity, the one that actually went bankrupt, it had to change its name to something incredibly robotic just so it could dissolve and die in court. It's now called 20230930-DK Butterfly 1 Inc.
DK Butterfly. That sounds like a bad sci-fi movie.
It really does. Now, what about Bye Bye Baby? You mentioned it was the jewel in the crown.
That was a much sadder story, unfortunately. It was sold off separately to a company called Dream on Me, which is a New Jersey-based baby furniture manufacturer. They paid about $15.5 million for it.
And they had big ambitions, didn't they? They wanted to reopen like 120 stores. They really tried to stage this massive comeback.
He did, but it just didn't stick.
No. Running physical retail is incredibly hard. And by the end of 2024, all of those reopened Buy Baby stores had closed down again. They had to pivot to being purely an online operation. It just goes to show you that buying a beloved brand name doesn't guarantee you can actually run the physical stores profitably.
But speaking of physical stores, let's look north of the border, because the Canadian saga is a roller coaster that is still going on right now as we speak.
It really is. So the Canadian arm of Bed Bath & Beyond liquidated in April 2023, right alongside the U.S. stores. But then a guy named Doug Putman enters the chat.
the Canadian billionaire who owns Toys R Us Canada.
He loves a distressed retail asset. He bought 21 of the old Bed Bath & Beyond leases, and he launched a brand new chain called Rooms Plus Spaces. He tried to fill that void in the market.
I remember seeing the signs for that. It looked a lot like Bed Bath & Beyond, just with a different logo.
But it failed, and it failed quickly. By January 2025, which is just over a year ago from where we sit now, all the Rooms Plus Spaces locations were closed. It seemed like the physical big box home goods model was truly dead in Canada.
However, and this is the news that has us talking in 2026, there is another revival happening right now.
Yes. In the summer of 2025, Sleep Country Canada, the mattress giant, they purchased the rights to the Bed Bath & Beyond name in Canada and in the UK. And their plan, which they are executing as we speak, is to bring physical Bed Bath & Beyond stores back again.
Okay, so let me just get this straight because it's confusing. If I'm in New York, Bed Bath & Beyond is a website run by the company that used to be Overstock.
Correct.
If I'm in Toronto, Bed Bath & Beyond is about to be a physical store run by the mattress company, Sleep Country.
Also correct.
And if I'm in Mexico,
It's still the original Bed Bath & Beyond Mexico. It was a joint venture, so it remained legally independent and never went bankrupt. It's just trucking along down there like nothing ever happened.
it is a multiverse of retail madness.
It really challenges our definition of what a company actually is. Is it the people? Is it the buildings? The supply chain? Or is it just the logo and the font?
That's the big question, isn't it? And it brings us to our takeaways. When we look back at this whole 50-year saga from the very first Bed and Bath in 1971 to these fragmented zombie brands of 2026, what are the big lessons here?
I think there are three critical lessons. The first, and maybe the biggest, is the danger of short-term thinking, specifically those stock buybacks. They spent $11.8 billion buying their own stock to please Wall Street today.
And they completely starved the business of the innovation and investment it needed for tomorrow.
They ate their own seed corn. It's the perfect definition of it. The second lesson is the failure to adapt to e-commerce. They were just too late. They let Amazon get a 10-year head start, and when they finally did try to buy things like One Kings Lane, it was too little too late. They treated the internet as a side project, not the main event.
And the third lesson?
I think it's the loss of the experience. You mentioned the treasure hunt earlier. In the early days, you went to Bed Bath & Beyond because it was fun. You found things you didn't even know you needed.
Yeah.
By the end, it was a chore. The stores were messy, they were out of stock, and frankly, they were depressing. When you lose that emotional connection with your customer, when you become just another place to buy a towel, you're dead. Because I can buy a towel anywhere.
And that leads me to this reflection on brand equity. Because despite all of that failure, despite the messy stores, the bankruptcy, the empty shelves, the name Bed Bath & Beyond was still worth millions and millions of dollars to Overstock and to Sleep Country.
And that is the incredible power of nostalgia and habit. That name has 50 years of prime real estate in our brains. It just means home. Even if the business model completely failed, the label itself still carries a certain amount of trust. It's a shortcut for the consumer. Oh, Bed Bath & Beyond, I know them. They sell home stuff. I get it. Building that kind of recognition from scratch takes decades and a fortune. Buying it for $21 million is a massive shortcut.
So here's my final provocative thought for you, the listener, to chew on. We now live in a world where Bed Bath & Beyond exists as two, maybe even three completely different realities, depending entirely on your GPS coordinates. It makes you wonder, is a brand a promise of a specific experience, or is it just a sticker we slap on inventory to make it sell?
And if the sticker is all that really matters, does it even matter who is running the warehouse behind it?
Something to think about the next time you're digging through your junk drawer looking for a 20% off coupon that doesn't exist anymore. Thanks for diving deep with us.
See you next time.